Hey, Mr. Sai here. Today we are going to be talking about inequalities and solving for inequalities, okay? For the most part, we're going to treat these like solving for linear equations like what we've been doing before, except this time now we have an inequality symbol instead of an equal symbol, okay? For the most part, it's not going to change this or change the problems much, other than the fact that we have to understand one key thing. That is, if we ever multiply or divide by a negative number at all to solve for a variable, we're going to have to change the direction of that inequality. So I'm going to show you 4 examples of this. Let's get started. So for the first thing, we're going to treat it just like solving a regular linear equation, and we're going to simplify both sides of the inequality first. So let's multiply 3 into this and start doing the distributive properties. So 3 times 4x is just going to give me 12x. 3 times negative 8 is going to give me negative 24. Plus 12 is greater than 11x minus 13. I have a negative 24 and a positive 12. I can combine like terms here. So this is just going to be 12x minus 12 because negative 24 plus 12 is negative 12, greater than 11x minus 13. Notice I haven't changed the direction of anything yet with the inequality, okay? Now I'm going to move the 11x over to do that because it's positive. I'm going to make it a negative 11x, and I'm going to subtract 11x from both sides, okay? So I got these to cancel. I got 12 minus 11x, which is just giving me a positive 1x, okay? I'm going to drop everything else down. Negative 12 is greater than negative 13. Now it's time to solve for x, so I'm going to add and move 12 to the right, okay? So I'm going to add 12 to both sides, and I'm left with x is greater than negative 1, because negative 13 plus 12 is negative 1. And there's my answer. X is greater than negative 1. What that means is if I plug in anything bigger than negative 1 into the original equation that I have here, it's going to make the inequality or the statement true, okay? And you can try it yourself. So for example, if we plug in 0 for x because 0 is greater than negative 1, you'll notice that the resulting number will be greater than the thing on the right side, okay? So it'll make that statement true. Let's try another problem real quick. And the problem is negative 3 over 2 x is greater than 12, okay? In order to do that, we're going to have to move that negative 3 over 2 over to the other side. Now, you have to ask yourself, well, how is negative 3 over 2 attached to x? And the answer is through multiplication. If you're ever in a situation where you have a fraction for the x and you have to just move it over, your best bet is to multiply the fraction by its reciprocal. Not an opposite reciprocal, but just the reciprocal itself, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. The reciprocal of negative 3 over 2 is just negative 2 over 3. And we're going to multiply that on both sides. So negative 2 over 3 and negative 2 over 3, and we're going to multiply that again like both sides. You'll notice that this negative 2 and this 2 will cancel, and then this 3 and this 3 will cancel. A negative times a negative is just a positive, so we're going to have just an x left on the left side of the inequality. Now, remember that rule I had said that if we ever multiply or divide by a negative number, we're going to have to change the direction of the inequality, and since I multiplied by a negative number, I'm going to have to change the sides, okay? So I'm going to change it from a greater than symbol to a less than symbol, and now I just have to multiply 12 times negative 2 over 3. Now, let's think about multiplying fractions here. I wish this was a fraction, so I can multiply a fraction times a fraction, and I can make it a fraction by just putting it over 1. So 12 over 1 times negative 2 over 3. Let's do that. So 12 times negative 2, which is negative 24, okay, times 1 over 3, which is 3, okay? So I'm just going to have a 3 on the bottom. Negative 24 over 3 is just going to be a negative 8, so x is less than negative 8, and there is our answer, okay? Again, make sure that if you ever multiply or divide by a negative number, you are switching the sign or switching the inequality, okay? Let's try the third example out. Here we go. The third example is this one. It's a little bit harder. Let's go ahead and try it out. So we're going to multiply 4 in here to simplify the left side. We got 4x and plus 4 minus 2x is less than 8x minus 26. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. 4x and negative 2x, when we combine those, that's just going to give us a positive 2x. Plus 4 is less than 8x minus 26. Okay, I'm going to move the 8x over. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 8x from both sides. Here we go. These are going to cancel. I'm going to get 2x minus 8x, which is negative 6x. Plus 4 is less than negative 26. Let's subtract 4 from both sides to move that positive 4 over to the right side. So let's go ahead and do that. That'll cancel. I get negative 26 minus 4, which is a negative 30. And I have negative 6x on the other side. Now it's time to divide. I'm going to have to divide by a negative 6. Oh, watch it. We're dividing by a negative number. So that means I'm going to have to do what with the inequality? I'm going to have to switch the sides. Okay, so I'm going to say x. I'm going to switch this to a greater than symbol now because I'm switching the direction. And negative 30 divided by a negative 6. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 30 divided by 6 is a 5. So x is greater than 5 is our answer. Okay? Let's go on to the last example for today, and the last example for the day is something with fractions. Oh no! So remember, if we're doing anything with fractions and there's loads of fractions and we want to get rid of all those denominators, look for least common multiple between 3 and 5. The least common multiple between 3 and 5 is 15, so if we multiply both sides or multiply every single term by 15, we will get rid of those fractions. So let's go ahead and start with that. So I'm going to multiply this side by 15. And whatever I do to this side, I have to do to the other side. And let's go ahead and do that. So 15 times 4/3. Okay, first of all, before we do that, let's divide 15 by 3. And whatever the resulting number is, we can multiply that by 4. So 15 divided by 3 is just going to give us 5. And 5 times 4 is 20. Okay, so I got 20x minus, all right, let's do the same thing. 15 times 2/3. All right, first of all, let's do the division. 15 over 3 is just going to give us that 5 again. So 15 times, 5 times negative 2, which is just going to give us that negative 10. Okay, let's drop down the less than or equal to. Let's do the same thing to the other side. So 15 times 4/5. We're going to do 15 divided by 5 first, see what's left over, and it's a 3. We're going to multiply 3 times 4, and that's going to give us 12x. Okay, let's do the same thing here. We got 15 divided by 5 first. We're going to get a 3 left over, and then that 3 will be multiplied by the numerator up here. So 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so we have nicer numbers now. We don't have any fractions. Let's go ahead and move the variable on over. So I got negative 12x, negative 12x. 20 minus 12, well, that's just going to give us a positive 8x. We'll drop everything else down. And then we'll have 9 here left over because the 12s cancel. All right, so here we go. We're going to add 10 to both sides. So I got 8x is going to be less than or equal to a positive 19. Okay, and now we're just ready to solve. Okay, so we're going to divide each side by 8. We're not going to change the inequality because that's a positive number. Okay, and x, the final answer is just going to be x is less than 19 over 8. Okay, now before I go ahead and write this, I want to make sure that this fraction cannot be reduced anymore. 19, really there are no numbers that go in there other than 1 and 19, and then 8 itself, well, there are numbers that go into that, but they don't go into 19, so our final answer will just be 19 over 8. Okay, so x is less than or equal to 19 over 8 is the statement that will make our above statement true. Okay, so for the most part, those are solving inequalities. Hopefully that helped a little bit. Remember the one rule that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you just have to switch that inequality sign. Other than that, that inequality sign will stay the same. Hope that helped. Have a great day. Bye-bye.